CDC due payment over.
No, did I? Enough finish yo. Now let me explain the whole due payment to you. That program they had on April 12th is just to tell all sedition, reaction, and sympathizers that we will start paying due for now to 2030 and all the way.
So I want to ask you, the way some of all not there. How will I want you book?
Abolida, the thing is, just go straight to CDC party headquarters and you request for your book. The people will give it to you. Anytime you go there, the people will be there. Don't worry yourself. In fact, the people get a mobile money number. If you file or you know you can make it, just send it straight on their mobile money number. And as soon as you send it on the mobile money number, the people will send your receipt straight on your website, or you go pick up your receipt and your due book right to your district office. I mean, the district that you live in. You can also pay to the bank. You can go to UBA or GT Bank. When you finish paying that money, they will give you one pink paper. Then you will carry it to the party headquarters or your district office. Then the people will verify it. They will give you your original receipt and your due book. And don't forget that only $1 US or $200 liberty you will pay every month. If you won't pay more than that, no problem. Because this party called CDC have to survive. And the mobile money number is 0886 097451.
Amanda Aweto, Amanda Aweto, Maipuye Iliberia, Maipuye. Jowia. Double
String.
Aha, y'all want it, bro. The punch giant ready to take over.
Like
Y'all want it, Robbie, Papa, come here again. Y'all want it, Papa, Georgie, come here again. Y'all want it, Mama, Joe, come here again. Who want it, Rossi, Tisha, come here again. Now they whole country, giant, come in so. Better move, I say you're better move, you're it's about to get away. We come here again. Who want a road city, come here again. Young who want a road job, we are coming again. Who want a road mama, Joe, come here again. Up in the road city, she come here again. Now the whole country, giant, coming so.
Good evening again and welcome to another edition of the CDC Hour. The CDC Hour is a 60-minute package of all activities within the Congress for Democratic Change and other national issues affecting our country. Today is Wednesday, June 25, 2025. I'm here as your host, Ishaka Sharif, and we'll be going through a lot of different issues today. Today, we also have again Mr. Prince the Crippler with us from the United States of America, if everything goes well. And so we'll be discussing national reconciliation within the Congress for Democratic Change, also the president of Liberia, the former president of Liberia, Josh Manuel, signed the book of condolence for the fallen former First Lady of the Republic, Madam Nancy B. Doe, at the Centennial Memorial Pavilion. This and many more we'll be discussing after a bit of our theme song.
Most go corridor. Go days, I wanna go there. Go celebrate. Go celebrate. It's a beautiful day. Go celebrate.
Thank you so much. First, the former president of the Republic, His Excellency Dr. George Manuel, signed the book of condolence for the fallen First Lady, Madam Nancy B. Doe, at the Centennial Memorial Pavilion in Monrovia. Yes, you may know Nancy B. Doe passed on peacefully in Monrovia a few weeks ago, and funeral arrangements have been ongoing. And finally, the book of condolence has been signed. She has been lie in state and subsequently to be, transported to Suedru, Grand Julia County for burial. And also, the late President Samuel Doe, the government tried to exhumate him, that is to rebury him, but we don't know how that happened. But that's the process. The government say they are implementing, and so as a matter of fact, because of that, a high-powered CDC delegation led by the chairman, Mr. Janga Augustus Coe, may have left the city already, may have left Monrovia already to Zreju to participate in the funeral process of the late Nancy B. Doe. Grand Julia County has been one of the torchbearers of the CDC in terms of support since 2005. And so it is by no mistake that the CDC is going to be highly represented at that level. We keep talking about reconciliation within the Congress for Democratic Change, because at this time, the best we can do is to reconcile our party, to re-energize, to re-strategize, to reorganize, and make sure to put up a powerful fight for the presidency in 2029. Make no mistake, the CDC is a very big force. The CDC is a political party of enormous grassroots appeal. And so there are a lot of people who still might underestimate the capability, the ability of the CDC to launch an assault on the presidency of Liberia come 2029. But we political analysts, we are looking at a lot of ability of the party, a lot of what we call chance. The party has a great deal of chances. The party is on the red trajectory to launch an assault on the presidency. But there are some issues that are needed or that need to be trashed out. Our differences need to be trashed out. Like I've always said, the fundamental, the uh the message. I think he lucky for him to. If I say no link, um, we are here, and because I don't want it to be like yesterday, we are here. We are here. We are facing some little technical issue in bringing Prince Crippler, but Prince Crippler, by the grace of technology and the Almighty God, will bring him on. So a reconciliation in the CDC is the foremost. Like I've always said, the fundamental uh, issues to the CDC coming to power is not a unity party. It is our shared differences to unite, reconcile, reorganize, re-strategize to come to power. So we lost election. Oh yes, a lot of you felt very much disenchanted, especially when there were people already disenchanted prior to the election. Some of whom decided not to support the CDC, supported opposition, and today Mr. Bwaka is in power. And so the best thing we can do is to get to those people who were disenchanted, and make sure to bring them back to the political institution. Not everyone that turn their back on you or hits you. I've always said that there are people who will turn their back on you because they want you to change. Okay, and that's what some of our people did in 2023, and so they are just waiting now for us to get back to them, recalibrate, re-energize ourselves, re-strategize, and bring them on board. They themselves may have other people to bring on board to make the tent bigger. Because once we create a tent, once we create new front lines of soldiering within the CDC, I believe that everything will work out very easily. So it is. I mean, the issue of big phage, this other man leaves the CDC, the other man leaves the CDC. Uh, some of these people are being supported by people who are very loyal and committed to the CDC, and so as soon as they leave, some of those people who support them will still remain with the party because they don't follow those people, you know. So, as a matter of fact, we have seen on social media in the last few days, for example, current Deputy Speaker Thomas Fala having a lot of things to say about the CDC, but there are people who are not going to follow him, right? I There are people who are not going to follow Thomas Fala because they love the CDC more than Fala. They love Liberia more than Thomas Fala, and so Thomas Fala will be uh maybe he has personal supporters individually who support him, but to a larger extent, he's not going to cause any much damage to the party in terms of, as a matter of fact, prior to the 2023 elections, Thomas Fala, or even during the election, Thomas Fala, I mean, trucked a lot of people from Montserrat to Lofa, and he won the election by a thread. Okay, he won the election by a thread, and so Fala is not as important to us, the CDC, as you ordinary people, grassroots partisans are, you know. So you have been the backbones of this party, he's on. You have been the backbones of this party. You guys have been the propellers of this political institution. And so Thomas Fala is not the fundamental reason for which the CDC came to power. No, it is you, the grassroots partisans, that have propelled this party to higher heights. Okay, thankfully we now have Mr. Let me say Honorable uh, Prince D. Crippler, a former representative candidate of District Number 12, Montserrat County. Honorable Crippler, good evening from Liberia and welcome to the CDC Hour.
Thank you, Isiaka. It's a pleasure to be here. I mean, my first edition, we had some troubling time with, getting on the platform, so I came in very late. But I'm excited that I'm here this time much sooner. So, and you are doing a great piece of job. I want to thank you on behalf of our many partisans for the remarkable piece of job that you're doing. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for that opening statement. As a matter of fact, you that are on the live feed, please share our show, share the video. As you are watching on the live feed, share the video, to your friends. Your friends will share it to their friends too, and we'll have more people watching, coming on to watch this. So, Mr. Crippler, first on our plate here is like I was talking about, and also we discussed a little bit on Monday, is the issue of national reconciliation within our party, because I believe that the biggest challenge to the CDC coming to power in 2029 is not the unity party. it is our shared differences amongst ourselves. Once we forgive each other, we we craft, an informed agenda going forward. I believe we can win easily based on the kind of grassroots support we have. So, what's your take on that?
Oh yeah, I do agree with you. And the boycott government and the Unity Party have already, I mean, made things easy for the CDC. They have defeated themselves already before 2029 by the mismanagement and the poor management of the country. And so they're not going to put up any major threat to the ascendancy of His Excellency President George Weah, to the presidency any longer. The biggest threat, I do agree with you, is a lack of unity among ourselves as partisans of the CDC. Is our inability to reconcile with one another and forge a common front to defeat the Rudy Unity Party by a lot, to defeat them by a lot. And so I do agree with you that we need to pour lots of our energy around, I mean, reconciling and unifying ourselves so that we are able to make the kind of remarkable win that is anticipated for His Excellency President Weah come 2029. Yeah, I do agree with you on that.
Okay. And when we're talking about such a reconciliation, we're talking about it at various angles, right?
Yeah,
A variety of angles. Prior to the election of 2023, there were people who may have been disenchanted because
yeah,
of how they thought things went. They did not go their way. So they decided to withdraw support from their party and support an opposition political party, which eventually emerged winner now. And so that is one category of people I think we need to get back to. Yes, because not everybody who walks away from you definitely hates you. There are
yeah.
some people who walk away from you because they want you to change, and
As a
I think
form of protestation
in terms
to
of
ensure
protestation,
that you do some adjustment.
and so some of them in their mind, I think they know that we have learned a lot or we are learning a lot. So if we get back to them in our communities, in our districts, I think they will listen. So I just want you to elaborate a little bit on that.
Yes, one of the very obvious reasons for some people walking away and having some issues with the CDC as a political institution and the government was the fact that they were deceived by propagandists of the Unity Party then opposition, to believing that once the CDC won elections, all seditionists must right away get job. You get what I'm saying? That's the kind of deceit that some of them bought into. And none of the CDC ran the country for 1 year, for 6 years, and gave way to the Unity Party democratically. And they see exactly that the very Unity Party who deceived them through propaganda, that eventually, once President Weah won the election, all of them were entitled to job, are now in charge of the country, and you hear Unity partisans all over the country crying for jobs. This is to suggest and to is a clear indication that it's never possible anywhere in the world that a government will come to power in the very first year and everybody who help the government to come to power start to get jobs. That is not possible anywhere in the world. But what the CDC was able to do was her pro-poor policy. Her pro-poor policy affected everybody across the board, including non-seditions, including Unity partisans. So this should be one of our rallying points for total reconciliation among us as seditions. President Weah policy, a free tuition policy. Once you are a sedition and voted for President Weah, a relative member of yours may have attended the University of Liberia or any of the community colleges in the various counties. That is an indirect benefit that you get from the election of President Weah. The fact that President Weah was able to sustain the peace for 6 years, that is a benefit that seditions and non-seditions got from the CDC. The fact that today we see the economy very tough, very hard, to the extent that people can make ends meet. Under President Weah, it was far better than what it is now. Those are all rallying points, in my view, for seditions now to get to realize that those were all propaganda that were being spilled by the then opposition Unity Party, just to get her way back to power and do absolutely nothing to benefit them. I think that's the rallying point. And those of the other seditions who worked very tirelessly to ensure that President Weah won the elections, and they have people like my own friend Thomas Falah, who, because President Weah could not be everywhere, could not see every partisan at the same time, he had to pass through different layers of party political leaders to ensure that they accommodate the interests of the ordinary partisans that are under their control, and they refuse to do that. People like Mr. Fowler refused to do that. They didn't do that well. And so President Weah takes the lashes for that. They should understand that President Weah did this because they were the leaders of the party, and they were on an obligation to reach out to those other low-level partisans that are under their jurisdiction, and they failed to do that. I think the seditions should see reason based on some of these factors, to reconcile and move the country forward, move the party forward, and fight for, the re-election of President Weah, so that the opportunities that were created before, can be far widening, in the next term of President Weah.
And so, in the same vein of the reconciliation, this is the first group of people we just talked about. It's also a second group of people who may have left for greener pasture. The first people left, they said they were disenchanted, they did not expect the way things went. But another group of people who may have left for greener pasture, or I'm leaving because I did not get what I want. Those people, sometimes it's difficult to deal with them, but you can also deal with them. But the most important part is, Mr. Crippler, this theory of, politicking in Liberia, when you are supported by a political party, win an election, they make you, at the end of the day, once you see a little loophole and see a new friend, you abandon that political institution, like in the case of Honorable Thomas Fowler. But I think what I think is the ordinary people, the ordinary partisans on whose shoulder this party is built, I think they are much more important than Thomas Fowler. Fowler is just one person. Fowler has depended on the grassroots foundation of the party to excel to where he is. And so if he's not in the party anymore, I don't think that grassroots foundation will sacrifice the party anyway for him. So that's a fundamental part of it. So the CDC, this is no strange thing in my view to the CDC. The CDC have witnessed, the exodus of senior partisans for personal aggrandizement. Before the CDC won election in 2017, I'm not sure there have been any mass exodus of senior partisans in the history of the CDC compared to prior to the election of President Weah in 2017. There were lots of seditions who thought that Mr. Boyka would have won the election, and so they threw their support to Mr. Boyka, including lawmakers, elected representatives, yes, 19
on the ticket of the CDC, who endorsed senators, representatives who endorsed then Vice President and candidate for presidency, Joseph Nyema Boyka. But while the CDC won the elections, look, the CDC is not about a specific kind of partisan, not high level partisan. The CDC is a grassroots political movement that base its strength on the ordinary, the suffering masses of our country. That is why when President Weah won the election, he wasted no time and he ushered in a pro-poor government, a government which focus was primarily on lifting the poor out of poverty. Because President Weah is aware of the CDC being a party cradle on the efforts of the ordinary people of our country, not on the high-level partisans. Yes, we credit high-level partisans who are tirelessly contributing to the growth and development of the party, but the strength of the CDC is on the ordinary people of our country, the beta bus seller, the charcoal seller, those market women and men who are selling in the streets, on the makeshift structures, some people in the stores. Those are the individuals that the CDC base her strength on. So look, we're not worried about individual leaving the CDC. People are liberty to leave, even though we'll send a call to seditionists at the high and low level not to abandon their party. Come back to your party, whether you are high-level sedition or you are low-level sedition, whether you are a sedition who benefited before or not, directly or indirectly. We are asking you to come back to your party because this CDC is the only party that has the desire to lift the ordinary suffering masses of our population out of abject poverty. The policies of the CDC during the 6 years of our administration can speak clearly for that.
But Mr. Crippler, there are some who might argue that the CDC was in power for 6 years. We did not receive this, we did not receive that. But like I listened to a guy, let me say a little boy who is about 19 years old, a guy who is about 19 years old, right?
Yeah.
The guy told a gentleman, said, look, my man, political parties are not founded for 6 years. CDC got power for 6 years. UP got power for its first 12 years, and they are now in power again. They have ruled the country for about 14 years now.
Yeah.
CDC went only 6 years.
Yeah.
And you hear thinking that CDC should do everything for you in 6 years when United Party themselves cannot do it. Could not do it first for their partisans in the first 12 years, and now they have another 6 years. They've gone almost 2 years. People are complaining, their partisans are complaining everywhere. So, had George Weah gotten a second term, he said a lot of these things could have been solved. But just the first 6 years, then everybody expected manna to come from heaven and everybody's problem solved. You know, the picking made a lot of sense that day, man. So I was very proud of him. As small, as young as he is, you know. So I just want you to elaborate a little bit on that because it's important.
Yes, high expectations are normal human. Tendency. High expectations are normal human tendency. If you follow what happened during the 6 years of the CDC government, matched with the expectations of the Liberian people, including seditions from the government, trust me, Isiaka, you realize that the CDC government did far better in her first 6 year tenure than any government ever in the history of our country. If you just oppose the CDC government first year versus this boycott government 2 years, the CDC government first year versus Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government first year or 2 years, if you just oppose them, you match them, you realize that the CDC government did remarkably well, unprecedentedly very well. And this was all because the CDC government was aware of the fact that expectations were very high, and the government was very determined to work hard, if not to meet 100% of those expectations, at least to reach to an extent, acceptable, enough for people to realize that the government was making frantic effort, to meet the expectations. But some of the expectations are beyond human comprehension. They are beyond human ability. They are beyond the reach of the available resources that are to the disposal of the government. So it became impossible to do what is not possible to do. But the performance of the government in the first 6 years, trust me, Ishaka, people can be able to confirm that the CDC did very well. Let's take for classical example. Let's make some examples. President Weah got elected in the very first year and was inaugurated 2018 January. The government kicked off the ground right away. In January, the government was inaugurated. The government got her first state visit to France, a major European power. The president visited Macron and brought back significant, tangibles that impacted significant portion of our population. Going forward, in the first 1 year of the government was able to mobilize over $300 million in commitments and direct, budget support from different friendly government and international organizations. Let match that with what is happening at the moment with the Boyka administration. Is it that those very countries that supported the CDC government are not available? They are available. But what is responsible for the Boyka government not making the kind of gains that the CDC government made in her first year of her takeover of the presidency? The simple reason is few factors. One, the government itself is careless. They're not concerned about the well-being and the welfare of the people. That is why they're not making frantic effort to reach to as many partners as possible for the kind of support that they need to be able to affect the livelihood of the people. The second thing is that even if they had a desire to do so, they lack the contacts. Nobody know them. Nobody know Mr. Boyka around the world. Even the principal of an elementary school in the West does not know Boyka.
And so
give him support.
So some of the latest development activities in the country currently done by this government, are all initiated behind by the former President George Weah. And so many are saying that the Boyka government is working in the shadows of Weah.
Exactly. But Ishaka, when you flip the coin, look at George Weah presidency in the first year, match that to see which were those things that were brought forward, the percentage of those projects that were brought forward versus those that were initiated by President Weah's administration. You will see there's a huge difference.
Like in the first year of Weah, President Weah broke ground for the construction of the Doe Community Road, broke ground for the construction of the NPA corporate office, broke ground for the construction of the LPRC corporate office, also broke ground for the construction of the 14 military hospital in Akibi County. Those are some of the notable projects the president broke ground for, alongside numerous, a lot of other different financial
start payment or WAS fees for 12 graders.
Digitization of registration,
the University of Liberia,
and all of that. WAS payment. As a matter of fact, and so the president impacted a lot of different sectors in his first year, but we're not seeing that. The only thing we're seeing now is the government is implementing a project left behind by the George Weah government on the Bushra Island Road from Freeport to Simple Bridge.
Exactly.
And also from EWA to Rabat International Airport, that road is going on now, which was initiated and funded by the George Weah government. So there are no new projects, there are no new innovations, there are no new and nothing. So they are working in George Weah shadows.
They can't find anything new. Absolutely nothing new. But meanwhile, they got propaganda very well that the George Weah administration wasn't doing much for the people and they would have done much, right? But then how can you now take over a country from a government you said wasn't doing much and you could have done better? And walking into the shadow of those activities that the government initiated, one would have thought that you will be doing what the government, the past government initiated, and at the same time bringing so many new ones. But we hardly find any new project, any new initiative, by this government that can be credited to this government as her own handmade. You don't find anything. You only find all of the old projects that were initiated by President Weah. In my view, in my belief, had President Weah got a second term, if it was President Weah that is the president today, would I even seen this project moving faster than they are moving at the moment.
And Mr. Crippler, come to think of it, George Weah did all of those things in 3.5 years because the COVID and post-COVID era took about 2.5 years.
2.5 years, including the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah, the Ukraine war and all of that, which were pushbacks, to some of the development initiatives that should have been done by President George Weah. So had those 2.5 years being added to the 3.5 years that President Weah worked for, I think Liberians would have been far much better today than what they are now.
So look, yeah, you're right, Isiaka. And not only that the COVID interrupted President Weah's presidency for 2.5 years, but it also took resources from the government. Remember, Isiaka, civil servants, more than 60,000 civil servants were on pay while sitting home. They were taking salaries for 2.5 years while the government was generating revenue and paying their salaries. Can you imagine that? This was all about because President Weah was aware of the fact that when civil servants take pay, it affects the entire country economically. Because civil servants will go to the market to buy in the market, and the market women are selling the market, the yana board, the pimping radar, will feel the impact of the salary of a civil servant. So President Weah thought that it was very important to continue to pay salaries irrespective of the fact that civil servants weren't working. I know Sierra Leone, for instance, they didn't do that. I know so many countries that did not pay their public workers while they were sitting home.
Like in Nigeria, over 200,000 civil servants were sitting home and were not taking pay. Sierra Leone sent over 48,000 civil servants as non-essential staff who were not paid. Guinea as well, because it was a pandemic. It was not an epidemic like the Ebola. It was a pandemic experienced by the rest of the world. But we were yet paying our civil servants for getting paid without doing nothing.
So you see, so all those things took away from President Weah first 2.5 years. But here is it. On the flip side of it, Mr. Bouaka has taken power, no interruption. In fact, he assumed the presidency with a very solid economy. Okay, so look, yeah, I think, okay, fine. I think we're back now, right?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, good. So what I was trying to spin is that President Bouaka took over the presidency with a solid economy, meeting over $40 million in the consolidated account when when President Weah took over, he made just $7 million in the consolidated account at Central Bank. President Boyka took over the country meeting $222 million in our international reserves. When President Weah took over, you wouldn't have 100 and some more million dollars that were in our international, reserve.
126 million.
Yes, 126 million. So it means President Boyka is taking over the country, in a very excellent condition compared to that of President Weah, who took over the country in a totally difficult and extreme condition. But yet then still, if you match the two presidents' performance in their first years, you will realize that President Weah have outmatched Mr. Boyka. He has outmatched Mr. Boyka.
And let me not break it up. In terms of security, in terms of national security, in a country now, since Mr. Boyka took over, both high profile and low profile mysterious deaths have crossed the 300 mark. People die in the street every day. Police killing people. Government agents are accused of killing different people across the country every day. George Weah took over in 2018 on the back of the withdrawal of the United Nations, over 15,000 troops, and which handed security of the state over to civil authority.
For the first time in so many decades.
For the first time in more than 20 years.
Yeah.
And in those 6 years that George Weah became president for, the national security of the country was managed very well by security gurus of the country, and we do not see what is happening now, where we have gone 8 years after the withdrawal of UNMIL, but we still see these kinds of horrific pictures of people being killed all around. A lady was killed in Marshall allegedly. I think 2 days ago, she had just come from Canada to open her house. She was killed, her body mutilated and burned in Marshall.
But look, Isiaka, that lady death and the mysterious deaths that are currently occurring in Liberia have taken over the entire West, including the United States. Many Liberians now are afraid of coming home. At the time that we should be working very hard to ensure that Liberians in the diaspora return home in their numbers so that they will contribute to the economy of the country. That's the time we are having this kind of unfortunate situation. And meanwhile, the president and the government sits there and does absolutely nothing, tangible enough to send reassurance to the population. One would have thought that with these mysterious deaths, the president would have instituted an independent panel to conduct some investigation and advance some recommendations to him as to what kind of measures to put into place to avoid these mysterious deaths. But meanwhile, the president himself has said nothing. Look, in the West here, in the US, when one citizen dies, it claims the attention of the entire country and the government. In fact, it reached the extent of the president visiting the home of that individual. But meanwhile, we have a president who is careless. In fact, he doesn't know how the country is running. I was told, I have been speaking to lots of government officials in that country there. And many of them will tell you, some of them are very frustrated, even government officials, they are very frustrated that the president doesn't know where the country is headed to. There are a group of people who were never elected that are running the government at the moment. And this is unfortunate. It's unfair to Liberians. Liberians did not elect anybody else as president. They elected Boyka. They elected Mr. Boyka as president for him to surrender the will of the Liberian people to different people. Is unfortunate. Other countries, they will impeach Mr. Boyka for that. You cannot surrender the will of the Liberian people to another person. Those individuals who he allowing grace period and other people to run the government, they were not elected.
Of course
It
not.
was Boyka, Mr. Boyka, that was elected, and the Liberian people expect that he will be doing the job. So if he didn't have the capacity, if he didn't have the time and the ability to do the job, then he had no reason to contest for the job. He had no reason to contest for the job. So look, this is something that the country need to give serious consideration to, serious attention to. Mr. Boyka is very careless. He doesn't care about what is unfolding in that country. Police are brutalizing people in that country, and he sits there and does absolutely nothing about that. People are dying mysteriously, and the president is sitting doing absolutely nothing about that. If he continue to depend on Gregory Como, a fanatic of social media, to think that the peace and the security of that country will be guaranteed, trust me, we are heading for trouble far more worse than what we are currently experiencing.
And I mean, Mr. Crippler, not only that security people are violating the rights of ordinary citizens daily, but also this scaring picture, this scaring moment in Liberia where security forces from different security apparatus clashing with each other in front of citizens. For example, one day it will be the armed forces, the AFF and the police. The other day it will be the police and the immigration. The other day it will be the police and DEA, immigration and DEA. So it has created a gloomy picture about the entire security coordination in the country. Citizens sometimes they flee for their lives from some of those areas. Like recently in River G County, police officers and immigration officers had a clash in one of the cities in River G. It was a scary moment for citizens of the area.
Yes, certainly, and certainly, I do agree with you that rather than the government doing something about that, they not seems to be concerned about that. All the government is concerned about, rather than those pressing things that bother the welfare, well-being of the people, all they're concerned about is how to go after their political opponent. That's fundamentally what the government concentrates herself on. The most government officials, including the vice president, ministers, they are all concerned about elections in 2029 than to serve the Liberian people for the 6 years mandate that they have at the moment. And this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate, and that's the reason, in my view, that they care less about these kind of insecurity situations, which have the ability to scare away investors. We already have a challenge in our country about investment. Investors lacking confidence in the state of security of the country. Then for these kind of things to be happening, and they see the government sit there and does absolutely nothing to remedize them. I mean, it's just going to make matter worse. If somebody say it's going to take it from worse to ridiculous, that's the kind of situation we expect to see in the next coming months or years, if nothing, no corrective measure is put into place, to ensure that this situation are stopped.
Okay,
you can have security officers who are supposed to be trained professional people who are supposed to coordinate and collaborate, network with each other. You can have them, in the open, clashing with each other. I mean, that's huge sign of immaturity. But again, this is happening because you find a scene incohesiveness at the level of the presidency. At one point in time, the president appoints one minister, and then they appoint one minister in two different positions, or they appoint two persons in one position. I mean, those are common mistakes, that should be avoided by somebody who is deemed to be to have over 40 years of of public service experience. If he's making these kind of graves, mistakes, why wouldn't you expect these, mistakes or these kind of happenings from the security apparatus of the country?
Okay. Lastly, our last talking point today. Let's just take 2 minutes to discuss that before we go to the lines. Uh, Yesterday, the former president of the republic, George Weah, signed the book of condolence for the falling former first lady, Madam Nancy B. Doe, at the Centennial Memorial Pavilion in Monrovia.
Yeah.
He was received heroically by bystanders, citizens who had anticipated him, in fact, to be there. And he signed the book of condolence and pay his last respect to the former first lady. So what
So
you say?
look, I followed that, and it was so emotional to me when I witnessed the president sign the book of condolence of the fallen former first lady. Look, Isiaka, I saw when the president touched down the compound of where the book of condolence was being signed. The cheers from, the applause from those who were already standing around there, as if though they were already aware that the former president was coming. The entire surrounding was overtaken by a crowd of Liberians, and from the door marching in to where he sat to sign, there were a lot of applause. Everybody, look, it appears as though the former president is the president of the country, because I did witness the current president, Mr. Boyka, go to sign that book of condolence. Trust me, Isiaka, it was like a ghost town. How can a president go to sign a book of condolence? Nobody show up. Except those few officials of his that are getting fat salaries. And then when the former president go to sign the book of condolence, as if though there was a public announcement made, the whole place is flooded. People have come out to cheer the former, including Grand Gidens that were there. It was like, this is the only person we were waiting for to sign this book of condolence. That's how the environment appears like when the former president was signing the book of condolence. So look, it just refreshed my minds about how, no matter how hard the current government and all of the political actors in the Unity Party try to demonize President Weah to the Grenadian people, to Grenadians, this is not going to work. You saw it when President Weah was invited to go at the mat, at the home of the fallen former first lady. You saw the scenario that occurred there. And then, poof, they play some politics, thinking they could still buy some favor from the people of Grand Jide. And after that drama, President Weah again goes to sign the book of condolence, and you even find far more jubilant, Grand Jide than what you saw at the home of the fallen first lady. It tells me that the people just naturally, Grenadians, Liberians, naturally love President Weah, and that is not something he purchased. He didn't purchase it. He worked for it. Who told you Liberians are not aware that when President Weah was playing soccer in Europe, he was always concerned about the well-being and welfare of Liberians? Who told you Liberians are not aware of the sacrifices President Weah made as a soccer player on the pitch for the peace and security of our country, for the welfare of thousands or millions of refugees across the West African sub-region? President Weah made a lot of effort, and that is what is paying off now. So they can't change anything. So that's all I can say about that. And I want to thank the Grenadians for their reception always.
We have just 6 minutes for the callers. If you are listening to Kings FM, you are listening now to the CDC Hour on Kings FM 88.5. I'm in conversation with my co-host or let me say co-panelist, Mr. Prince D. Crippler, who, for the people of District 12, the Prince Crippler talking here. So,
Yeah.
sitting in the radio, for those of you
Yeah.
who have not made up his voice, this is Prince D. Crippler, your former representative candidate. I don't know whether he's running again. I mean, it's left with him, but not on the program. He can be talking
Yeah.
today. So,
Yeah. Certainly.
if you're there, you can call us on 0772-239933, 086-304497, or 0777980375, exclusively for female. Let's go to the line to take our first caller. Good evening.
Good evening. This is Gertrude J.D. Williams. I'm calling from Johnsonville.
Madam Gertrude J.D. Williams, let's hear
Yeah.
you.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Abash, into the conversation about our God. Something you've been doing extremely well. I must appreciate you. Let us keep the candle burning. CDC will come back to power. Liberians will be happy again. I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to President Weah for going to sign a book of condolence to show that this is something that was never announced to the public. But for everywhere he went, it almost at the coming of Jesus Christ. You always see people will come together, they stay around, and you will see how things happen. I mean, I was overwhelmed when I saw him going in, and people came from nowhere. The whole place got crowded with people. So to show that Liberians still love this man, and they will make sure that he comes back to power.
We have lost
Hello?
Gertrude. Let's go to our second caller. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, let's hear you.
Yeah, Esther Mo calling from Sesame.
Yeah, Esther, let's hear you.
We, the physician, we're not worried about all the things that I do. We tell someone for that, thank you. We tell them thank you because now they don't want to see with the physician anything. But when you do good, you get lost. When you do bad, you get lost. So we pray in my house now. I was 8, but now before they come in town, will be 12. My salary will go from door to door in my home. So they had in here because they say they want all our people, but CDC not to come out to power.
Thank you so much. Let's go to the next caller. Hello?
Hello, Ishaka.
Yeah, Mabenu, let's hear you.
Hello, good afternoon to you. You know, Ishaka, the people that press on it. I see my blood down. Thank you for the controller. I go there. I see all people. What? Blood down. Continue to go. Who the post sing your song? Me, I'm not saying, but sing that song. Anyway, you went. You were doing cool. It's a more say, can I labor? And then I saw sorry. Inside the walking. That won't be that meal. I mean, it will follow you. Great training.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's take another call.
Thank you.
The time is limited, so.
Yeah.
Hello? Hello? Let's hear you.
Isiaka, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Let's hear you quickly.
Good evening, Isiaka.
Yes, let's hear you quickly. We don't have much time.
Yeah, this is David King, and I do join you from a small notice resident.
Okay, David.
Yeah, let me say bravo to Kwepla. He articulated well. I think President Weah, when he got the ground running in 2018, things were not as deplorable the way it is. But we met a deplorable economy. But President Weah, being a famous person in the world, he used the connection to put Liberia on path. For the first time in Liberia, for our military to have a military hospital. The last time I checked, when President Boakai fell sick, she spent 2 weeks at our hospital before she was flown out of the country. So We are not seeing anything from this government. No project being initiated. He himself said the arrest agenda was built on the pillow of the purple agenda for development and prosperity. He said that in a State of the Nation address. The recording is there. So I have known fully well that President Bouaka do not have.
AC.
Oh,
Hello?
hello?
Yeah, hello, Ishaka.
Yeah, let's hear you. Quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly,
This
no
is
time.
Studies of First Street.
Yes, let's hear you.
The Holy Bible says, do not test my anointed or do my prophet any harm. These people, they are already failure. The Nigerians, they are already resolved. We who the different tribes, we are already resolved. You said our president will give you all drug carry to eat. In your group, then they go to put you there. Then they give you all say to eat. They carry and they say which one the best one. President, we shall come back in the name of Jesus 2029.
Amen.
Fight that battle. We will fight that battle to the last 2023. Everything that they did to us, we are putting our mechanism together in our community. We are talking to our friends there, and even the old Palestinians, they are talking to us now. Say we are not expecting it that way. That the people need to rake with talk.
Thank you so much. Let's take the last call and get back to Mr. Crippler for our parting comments today. Hello? If we don't have any more callers, then Prince, you listen to the callers in a unanimous tone.
Yeah.
Agree with almost everything, because everything we have said here is very, very vital to the coming back of the CDC.
Yeah.
So let's hear your parting comments.
Oh yes. Basically, like I said, the CDC coming back is unquestionable. President Weah re-election in 2029 is unquestionable. It's just a matter of time now. In fact, they have given the Unity Party ascendancy, and the current poor performance of the Unity Party government has given validated reason why President Weah should return to power. They argued when President Weah was president that the U.S. did not invite President Weah, but President Weah came to the U.S. on many occasions, almost 2 years now. Not a single invitation have gone to Mr. Bouaka. President Weah, in his first 1 month in office, he visited various European powers. President Bouaka, nearly 2 years now, all he does is take our money, fly to African countries for ECOWAS summit, for AU summit, return home with empty pocket, empty hands. That's the situation we continue to experience. So they're just validating the fact that, President Weah need to come back. Their performance is a clear validation that the president will return, and that's why you see the people all of the time, they turn up in their numbers. If you listen to different media outlets interviewing people about the performance of the government, they have scored 0, and that's why they resorted to grading themselves. It's just that you're a student, you're in school, and then instead of you waiting for the professor to grade you, you decide to grade yourself. So they grading themselves 100, but the people grading 0.
Okay, thank you so much. On that note, every good thing must come to an end. On that note, we have come to the end of this Wednesday's edition of the CDC Hour. We were in conversation with Prince Crippler from the US. He's our co-panelist on the show going forward. And so thanks to all of you for listening, for watching us on Facebook Live. And then the next time you see us here will be on Friday, day after tomorrow. Until then, I'm your presenter, Ishiaka Sharif. Bye-bye.